The night was heavy with silence, as Emma sat by the dim lamp, her hands trembling around a coffee cup she barely tasted. David paced the living room, his steps sharp and restless. He finally stopped, his voice breaking as he said, "Emma, I need to tell you something." Her heart froze, and fear crawled through her chest. Emma whispered, "What is it, David?" His face tightened with guilt, his eyes refusing to meet hers. David said, "I've been seeing someone else." The words tore through her like glass, the cup slipping from her hands and shattering on the floor. Emma's breath came in short gasps, her voice trembling. "How long?" David muttered, "Months." The sound echoed, stretching time into eternity. She pressed her hands to her face, her sob muffled, the pain too sharp to bear. Emma cried, "Everything we built, was it a lie?" David's silence was heavier than his confession. The room's warmth vanished, replaced by an icy weight. Emma said, "I don't even know who you are anymore." David's lips moved, but no words came. The broken cup sparkled under the lamp like shattered trust. And Emma knew life had just changed forever. The silence after David's words roared louder than any scream. Emma sat frozen, her chest heaving as fragments of memory clawed at her mind. She remembered their first kiss, the promises whispered in the dark, all undone in one moment. David reached out as if to touch her shoulder, but she recoiled as though his hand carried fire. Emma said, "Don't you dare touch me." His expression twisted with shame, but his voice remained trapped in his throat. The living room clock ticked louder, its rhythm cruel in the quiet. Emma whispered, "You shattered everything." She lifted her gaze, eyes burning with a mix of rage and sorrow. David lowered his head, unable to face her, the weight of his confession pressing him into silence. Emma's breath rattled as her chest tightened. The warmth of their home now felt like a prison. David whispered, "I didn't want to hurt you." Emma snapped, "You destroyed me anyway." His face crumpled, but his pride forced him upright. Emma saw the shadows of lies flicker across his eyes. She said, "Months? How could you keep this from me for months?" David swallowed hard, his voice faltering. "I thought I could stop. I thought it would fade." Her laughter burst, bitter and sharp. Emma said, "Fade? Love doesn't fade, David. It gets strangled by betrayal." His silence confirmed every suspicion that had haunted her heart. Emma rose abruptly, her legs trembling but fueled by fury. She shouted, "Do you even love me anymore?" The room shook with her voice. David's mouth opened, then closed, his silence answering for him. Emma's heart cracked further, her body swaying from the force of grief. She said, "You let her take what was mine." David turned away, shame heavy on his shoulders. The air thickened, suffocating Emma as she struggled to breathe. Her tears blurred the room, every shadow now a cruel reminder of his betrayal. The weight of silence fell once more, heavier than words. Emma's chest heaved as she whispered, "Leave." David turned, his eyes glistening with guilt. He said, "Please, Emma, don't end this here." Her voice broke as she shouted, "Go!" David hesitated, then reached for the door handle. The metallic click echoed like thunder as the door swung open. Emma's tears streamed, her body collapsing onto the couch. The sound of the door slamming shut was final, sealing the wreckage of love behind it. Emma sat alone on her bed, the pale morning light filtering through half-drawn curtains. Her eyes stung from a night of tears, and her pillow was stained with sleepless sorrow. Memories replayed relentlessly in her mind, each word from David slicing deeper. She whispered to herself, "I gave him everything." The clock ticked slowly, cruelly reminding her of passing hours. Emma curled her knees to her chest, gripping a blanket like armor against invisible wounds. Her heart raced with disbelief, anger, and unbearable grief. She thought of the way David once held her hand, how his laughter filled the silence, and how quickly it had all been erased by betrayal. Emma muttered, "Was I ever enough?" Her voice cracked under the weight of the question, trembling with pain. The shadows in the room seemed to lean closer, as though mocking her broken state. She clutched tighter to the blanket, whispering, I don't know how to keep breathing through this. The silence answered with cruelty. The soft buzz of a phone broke the silence. Emma wiped her swollen eyes and glanced at the screen. Lily, her best friend, calling. With shaking fingers she answered. Lily's voice was warm but concerned. Emma, I heard your voice last night. I know something's wrong. Emma whispered. He cheated Lily. The words nearly broke her in half again. Lily gasped, her tone fierce. That bastard. I'm coming over. Emma shook her head though Lily couldn't see. No, she said softly. I don't want you to see me like this. But Lily's determination crackled through the phone. You don't get to push me away. I've stood with you through everything. You're not alone in this. Emma's lips trembled, the smallest relief flickering inside her storm. She whispered, I don't know who I am without him. Lily's reply was firm. You're stronger than you think. Later that day, Emma sat in the living room, staring blankly at the broken shards of the cup still on the floor. She hadn't moved them, almost as if they carried the weight of truth too heavy to discard. The doorbell rang, startling her. She hesitated before opening it. David stood there, eyes sunken, voice low. Please, Emma, can we talk? Her breath caught, fury igniting again. Talk, you destroyed me. His shoulders slumped, his pride faltering. David said softly, I need you to hear me. Emma's chest tightened, rage and sorrow colliding. Why now? You had months to come clean, she snapped. David looked down at his shoes, his voice breaking. I didn't know how to lose you. Emma's tears threatened again, but she refused to let them fall in front of him. She said, You already lost me the moment you betrayed me. Emma wandered through the park the next day, the crisp air biting against her cheeks. She closed her eyes, hearing echoes of laughter that once belonged to her and David. The world seemed unchanged, yet everything inside her was torn apart. Sitting on a bench, she traced circles on the wood, fighting tears. She whispered, I don't even know myself anymore. A stranger's laughter nearby cut through her haze, reminding her of the life still moving around her. She pressed her fists against her eyes, her chest heaving. In her mind she replayed David's voice, each word another blade. I've been seeing someone else. The echo gnawed at her soul. Emma muttered, How could I ever forgive that? The rustling trees whispered back emptiness. That night, Lily sat across from Emma in the kitchen, the glow of a single bulb casting soft shadows. Lily leaned forward, her tone sharp yet protective. You can't let him back in. Emma stirred her untouched tea, voice cracking, But I still love him, Lily. The confession stung her own heart. Lily shook her head. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. Emma's hands trembled around the cup. I don't know how to stop loving him, she whispered. Lily sighed deeply, her eyes softening. Then love yourself more. The words hung heavy in the air, carving their way into Emma's wounded heart. Tears fell silently into the tea, rippling like tiny earthquakes. Emma whispered, What if I can't? Lily reached across the table, clasping her hands firmly. Then I'll hold you until you can. Emma wandered into the cafe downtown, her steps heavy but deliberate. She hoped the noise of strangers might drown the chaos inside her. As she stood in line, her breath caught. Across the room sat Claire, the woman she had only heard of in whispers, the one David had chosen. Claire's laughter rang clear, slicing Emma like glass. Emma froze, her chest tightening, her mind screaming. Claire glanced up briefly, her confident gaze brushing Emma before returning to her companion. Emma's hands trembled as she whispered under her breath, So it's her. Rage battled sorrow in her veins, her body rooted yet restless. She turned quickly, leaving the line unfinished, fleeing into the cool air outside, tears hot against her face. Emma sat in her car outside the cafe, her fists clenched on the steering wheel. She felt the sting of betrayal deepen, seeing the rival alive, laughing careless. The world outside seemed normal, yet Emma's heart felt wrecked. She whispered angrily, She's real. She's not just a shadow. Her chest heaved as jealousy tangled with grief. She thought of David's words, his empty apologies, and how his lies now carried Claire's face. A sudden wave of nausea hit her as she realized she had shared her love with someone willing to betray so easily. She slammed her palms against the wheel, a scream muffled in her throat. Her reflection in the rearview mirror stared back, unrecognizable, broken. That evening, Emma found herself at the office where Mark, her colleague, worked late. His steady presence had always felt safe, like a harbor in the storm. Mark looked up from his desk, concern flickering in his eyes. "Emma, are you all right?" She shook her head, forcing a faint smile. "No, but I don't know where else to go." He rose, walking toward her with calm steps. "You don't have to explain. Sit," he said softly. Emma sat, her body slumped, exhaustion painting her every feature. Mark handed her a cup of water, his eyes steady and kind. Emma whispered, "He broke me, Mark." His voice low and firm replied, "Then let me help you rebuild." His words wrapped around her like a quiet lifeline. David showed up at Emma's apartment the next day, his knock heavy, insistent. When she opened the door, his face carried shadows of guilt. "Emma, please, we need to talk." She glared at him, fire in her eyes. "Why? To twist the knife deeper?" David shook his head, stepping forward. "I can't lose you. I know I hurt you, but I can change." Emma's body stiffened, her voice rising. "You already lost me when you chose her." He winced, his pride flickering, his desperation seeping through. "I made a mistake," he said. Emma's voice cracked, rage laced with grief. "You made a choice." His silence was more damning than any confession. She closed the door slowly, leaving him in the hallway. Emma sat on the floor of her bedroom that night, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Every word replayed, every face burned in her mind. She whispered, "I can't do this anymore." The room felt too small, suffocating with memories. Her phone buzzed with a message from Lily, "Don't let him control your tomorrow." Emma pressed the screen to her chest, tears streaming. She thought of Mark's kind words, of David's broken apologies, and of Claire's laughter. The storm of choices pressed down on her. Her voice wavered, "Do I walk away or stay shackled to pain?" The night stretched long, her heart split between past love and the fragile hope of something new. Emma agreed to meet David at the cafe, her heart pounding as she stepped inside. He sat at a corner table, his shoulders heavy with guilt. She approached slowly, her voice cold. "Why am I here, David?" He looked up, his eyes pleading, "Because I can't let this end without fighting for us." Emma's lips tightened as she sat down, her chest burning. She whispered, "You fought for her, not for me." His face twisted with pain, his hands trembling around his coffee cup. "It was a mistake," David muttered. Emma leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "No, it was a choice." The air between them thickened, filled with unspoken rage and sorrow. Silence, dragged as the sound of clinking cups around them, felt like cruel mockery. Emma finally pushed back her chair, her voice sharp. "I don't owe you another second." Later that evening, Emma sat with Lily on the couch, the room dim and quiet, except for the hum of a lamp. Lily leaned close, her voice softer now. "Tell me what you feel." Emma exhaled heavily, her voice breaking. "I feel hollow, like I don't exist anymore." Lily's hand rested on hers, firm and grounding. "You exist. Don't let him erase you," she said with certainty. Emma's eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling. "I don't know how to trust again." Lily whispered, "You'll start by trusting yourself." The words lingered, carrying weight heavier than Emma could hold. She collapsed into Lily's arms, her sobs muffled against her shoulder. Lily tightened her embrace, whispering, "I've got you." Days later, Emma spotted Claire at the bookstore. Claire's presence was magnetic, her confidence unsettling. Their eyes locked across the aisle, tension sparking instantly. Claire smirked faintly, stepping closer. "So you're Emma," she said, her voice cool. Emma's chest tightened, but she stood tall, whispering, "And you're the reason my world shattered." Claire tilted her head, feigning innocence. "He came to me. I didn't steal him." Emma's voice cracked with restrained fury. "You helped him betray me." Claire's smirk faltered, her eyes flickering with something unspoken, guilt or pride. Emma's hands trembled, but her gaze didn't break. For the first time, she felt her anger burn hotter than her grief. Mark found Emma sitting alone in the office break room late one evening, her face pale and weary. "Still here?" he asked gently. She looked up, exhaustion etched into her eyes. "I don't want to go home." He sat beside her, offering quiet companionship. "You don't have to explain," Mark said, sliding a cup of tea across the table. Emma's hands wrapped around it, the warmth seeping into her trembling fingers. "You make it feel safe," she whispered. Mark's expression softened, but he remained steady, replying, "Because you deserve safety." The words wrapped around her like a fragile shield, offering her a moment of peace she hadn't known in weeks. That night, Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The echoes of David's voice, Lily's advice, Claire's smirk, and Mark's kindness swirled inside her mind. She whispered to herself, "Which voice do I follow?" Her heart raced with the weight of impossible choices. Trust had been shattered, but hope still flickered faintly. Tears slipped silently into her hair, warm against the cold pillow. She closed her eyes, clutching the blanket to her chest, her breathing shallow. The night stretched endlessly, her soul caught between rage, grief, and the fragile possibility of something new. She whispered one final word into the darkness. "Why?" Emma sat in her kitchen late at night, the clock ticking louder than her thoughts. The truth she had uncovered weighed like chains. She whispered, "He wasn't just unfaithful. He lied about everything." Her fingers traced a photograph of her and David, their smiles now cruel reminders of love's betrayal. The confession she had overheard that afternoon from Claire echoed in her mind. David had promised her more than just nights. He had promised a future. Emma's chest ached as she muttered, "I gave him my life, and he gave it to someone else." She gripped the photo tightly before slamming it face down on the table. The silence that followed was suffocating, a reminder that nothing she thought was real could be trusted anymore. The next day, Emma confronted David outside his apartment. He stepped back as she approached, her voice sharp. "You didn't just cheat, you built a second life." David's face fell, his lips parting in denial. "Emma, it wasn't like that," he stammered. Rage burned in her chest. "She told me everything," Emma hissed. His silence was deafening, confirming the truth she feared. "How could you look me in the eye while planning a future with her?" Emma's tears blurred her vision, but her fury cut clear. David reached for her arm, his voice shaking. "I never stopped loving you." She ripped her hand away, her voice like ice. "Love doesn't lie like that." Later, Emma sat with Lily in the living room, her hands clenched. Lily's eyes widened as Emma explained. "He promised her a future too," Emma whispered. Lily slammed her fist on the cushion, her voice fierce. "He doesn't deserve either of you." Emma buried her face in her hands, sobbing. "I was blind." Lily pulled her hands away, her gaze steady. "You were in love, not blind." Emma's tears fell freely as Lily gripped her shoulders. "He is not your home, Emma. Stop setting yourself on fire to keep him warm." The words broke through Emma's despair, cutting like truth she could not ignore. That evening, Mark found Emma outside the office building, her eyes red, but her stance more steady. "Rough day?" he asked gently. She nodded, her voice soft but resolved. "I found out he gave her promises he gave me." Mark's expression tightened, anger flashing briefly before softening. "You deserve someone who only promises you," he said firmly. Emma looked at him, searching for sincerity, finding only calm strength in his eyes. She whispered, "I don't know how to believe in love anymore." Mark's voice was steady. "Then believe in kindness first. Let love grow from that." His words sank into her like a fragile seed of hope. That night, Emma returned home, her apartment heavy with silence. She stared at the mirror, seeing a woman she barely recognized, broken, yet still standing. She whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore, but I know who I'm not." Her reflection stared back, weary yet stronger than before. She picked up the shattered photograph frame from the table, her hand steady this time. Instead of weeping, she placed it into the trash, her chest lifting slightly as if breathing for the first time in weeks. She whispered softly, "I will not be defined by him." The night felt a little less heavy, the air carrying a fragile whisper of healing. The night was heavy as Emma walked into David's apartment, her chest burning with rage and heartbreak. He stood by the window, his face pale, eyes tired. She slammed the door, her voice shaking, "No more lies." David turned, his words trembling. "I never wanted to hurt you." Emma's fists clenched, tears burning. "You didn't just hurt me, David. You shattered me." His lips parted, searching for excuses, but her fury was faster. "How do you live with yourself?" she demanded. David's voice broke. "I hate myself every day." Emma's heart twisted, but her pain screamed louder. "Then why did you keep doing it?" The room pulsed with silence, the weight of truth suffocating. Emma stepped closer, her voice rising. "You let me believe in us while you gave her everything." David's breath shook as he whispered, "I loved you both." Emma's face twisted with disgust. "Love doesn't split in two," she spat. David's shoulders dropped, his pride breaking. "I was weak, Emma. I couldn't let either of you go." Her chest heaved as she stared at the man she once called her home. "You don't get to call that love," she said coldly. His tears finally broke free, but they offered no comfort, no redemption. Emma's voice cracked. "You left me drowning, David, while you kept swimming toward her." David reached out desperately, his hand trembling. "Emma, please don't leave me like this." She stepped back quickly, her voice sharp. "You already lost me." His chest caved as he gasped, "I can change. I can fix this." Emma shook her head, her tears flowing. "You can't fix what you destroyed." He dropped to his knees, clutching at her hands, his voice breaking. "I'll beg, Emma, I'll do anything." Her body stiffened as she pulled away. "Stop. You don't get to beg for what you threw away," she said through sobs. The truth in her words cracked the air open like thunder. Emma's sobs turned to sharp, bitter laughter. "Do you even hear yourself? You want forgiveness without change." David's face fell, his voice whispering, "I don't know how to let you go." She stared at him, her chest heaving. "You already let me go the moment you touched her." The truth cut deeper than any blade. David crumbled, covering his face with his hands. Emma turned toward the door, her voice trembling. "I won't be your second choice, not now, not ever." The words echoed like a vow, louder than his tears, final in their weight. Emma gripped the doorknob, her body trembling but firm. She turned back one last time, her voice raw. "You taught me love can break, but I won't break with it." David's tearful eyes met hers, but no words came. She opened the door, the hallway's cool air rushing in like freedom. David collapsed onto the floor behind her, his sobs muffled by his hands. Emma stepped into the corridor, each step heavy but resolute. The slam of the door thundered, sealing the wreckage of their story. For the first time in weeks, she inhaled deeply, her chest rising with painful relief. The morning sun crept through Emma's curtains as she sat at the kitchen table, a cup of tea warming her hands. Lily sat across from her, eyes steady but soft. "You did the right thing," Lily said firmly. Emma's voice trembled. "Then why does it still hurt so much?" Lily leaned forward, her tone gentle. "Because love leaves scars, Emma. But scars remind us we survived." Emma's lips quivered as tears gathered, but for the first time, they weren't only from sorrow. She whispered, "I thought I'd never breathe again." Lily squeezed her hand, whispering, "And yet here you are, still breathing." The words carried fragile strength into the room, filling Emma's chest with a small spark of hope. Emma walked through the park that afternoon, the crisp air brushing her cheeks. She sat on a bench, watching children play, their laughter filling the air. For the first time, the sound didn't stab her heart. It stirred something gentle. Mark appeared, his smile quiet but genuine. "I wasn't sure if you'd want company," he said. Emma returned a faint smile, her voice soft. "I think I do." They sat in silence, the world around them alive with colors of autumn. Emma exhaled slowly, whispering, "It feels lighter today." Mark looked at her warmly, replying, "Because you're starting to heal." His words settled over her like sunlight through leaves. Claire stood outside the cafe when Emma passed by, their eyes meeting briefly. Claire's confident posture faltered, guilt flickering in her gaze. She whispered, almost to herself, "I never meant to ruin her." Emma stopped, her voice calm but firm. "You didn't ruin me." "He did." Claire's lips parted, but no words came. Emma turned and walked away, her steps steady, leaving Claire in silence. For the first time, Emma didn't feel small in her presence. She felt free, the weight of comparison no longer chained to her heart. The moment was not victory but release, a quiet severing of the past. That evening, Emma sat on her balcony with Lily, the city lights glowing beneath them. Lily sipped her drink, her voice light but honest. "You're stronger than I've ever seen you." Emma smiled faintly, her voice steady. "I didn't think I'd survive this." Lily laughed gently. "And yet, here you are, proving yourself wrong." Emma looked up at the stars, her chest rising with a deep breath. For the first time in weeks, her tears did not come. Instead, a fragile calm settled in. She whispered, "I don't need him to define me anymore." Lily clinked her glass against Emma's, smiling. "That's the Emma I know." The next morning, Emma stood by her apartment window, the sunlight spilling over her face. She whispered softly, "I survived." She picked up her coat, ready to step out into the world with a steadier heart. As she opened the door, a wave of calm rushed through her chest. The echoes of David's betrayal no longer defined her story. She was no longer the broken woman who begged for answers. She was someone who had faced the storm and chosen herself. As she walked out, the final slam of the door wasn't an ending but a beginning. Her whispered words lingered. "This is my life now," carrying her forward into healing.